Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with StraightSmile Solutions, StraightSmileSolutions.com, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about phase one braces. You can also say phase one aligners. Why do you do them? When do you do them? How do you know if you need to do them? And I'm not going to be talking about phase one treatment in general because I have just so many videos about phase one interceptive treatment that you can already reference on basically every kind of appliance, the why behind it, the paperwork that you need. If you want to watch those, they're totally free and available to you. You can just go to my YouTube channel, not your YouTube channel, but my YouTube channel. Go to your YouTube channel, put in the search bar StraightSmile Solutions. From there, it'll take you to my YouTube channel, which has a green banner. From there, on the homepage, if you scroll down, there are like 10 or 12 different playlists. One of them is a phase one / interceptive / RPE / OMT / functional appliance playlist. So it's basically everything for the little kiddos, the 10s and the unders, and I'm also integrating habits into that and myofunctional therapy and airway. That's all in one little section. Maybe someday I'll break out the airway stuff or the myofunctional stuff, but right now it's all in one section just because YouTube limits how many playlists I can have, and you can watch everything you need to know. But specifically, the question we're going to address today is, let's say you decided to do interceptive treatment. Perhaps your interceptive treatment started with some type of appliance. Maybe you were growing a jaw, an upper jaw, or a lower jaw to try to fix an AP discrepancy. Maybe you were widening an upper or upper jaw, doing jaw or arch expansion, palatal expansion. Maybe you were widening both arches just for space management. Anyways, in any case, we had transverse issues or we had AP issues. AP issues also are called sagittal issues. We had those issues, we fixed them. Maybe that was the goal. What is the goal of interceptive treatment? So you need to decide, well, why were you doing it? Were you doing it to correct a bite? Were you doing it to widen the jaw? Were you doing it to grow a jaw? Were you doing it to shrink a jaw? Hopefully that's kind of difficult, but that's kind of pretty much what cervical or headgear does. Um, or were you doing it to widen the arches so that you're less likely to have crowding? Or were you doing it to maybe close a space from 7 to 10, from upper 2 to 2, so that your canines would be less likely to be impacted? Were you doing it because the front teeth were crazy flared and perhaps now you have some space to retract them so they're less likely to be like a risk of trauma? So the question about whether you need braces or phase one aligners really depends on what your goal was, okay? Now, this is my personal opinion, and this is just my opinion. My opinion is patients or parents paid for phase one treatment, you should do whatever the patient needs. And needs is kind of like a medical necessity. If there's a medical or dental necessity to do something that involves the placement of brackets or phase one aligners, or phase one Invisalign first, well then yeah, you have to do it because there's a necessity for that. So like if the teeth were at risk of trauma or if there's a risk of impacted canines, yeah, then you got to do it. Of course, they paid for it. You build insurance. You got to finish it. You can't just do 50%. It's kind of like, okay, what happens if I went to urgent care because I cut my hand open and they only did 50% of the stitches? Like, no, I paid for this. You got to finish it, right? Now, what's a different story? A different story is, remember, everyone that's getting phase two is that's getting phase one is most likely getting phase two. So let's say you widen the arches and you grew a jaw, okay? Maybe you stimulated the mandible to grow, you fixed the overjet. Maybe you widen the arches so that you would have the adequate arch width so later things would come in. Usually if you build it, things will kind of even out over time. Do a little bit of driftodontics. If you don't know what driftodontics is, I have a whole video on driftodontics. You can search for it in the same way that I told you before. Within my YouTube channel, there's a tiny magnifying glass towards the top right where you can put in a keyword like driftodontics or drift, or phase one or RPE. And you can watch all my videos on that. So regarding the whole thing, do you need the braces, depends on if it's needed. Now, that was one thing. Of course, if it's needed, you have to do it, right? What if it's just a cosmetic thing, which may or may not improve on its own over time now that you've created the space? Or what if it's just a cosmetic thing and your goal was just to correct the bite and you could just address that in phase two? Well, that's really up to you. So let's talk about what's a cosmetic thing. Well, clearly this is not a cosmetic thing, right? Patient is in single tooth anterior crossbite. Looks like the width of the upper jaw is probably okay. This tooth's looking good. These are all looking good. There's two ways you could probably fix this. I mean, obviously you could do phase one braces, phase one aligners, or potentially some type of spring retainer that could kick it forward. That would probably work here too. So 3 ways. So regardless, no, yeah, you can't leave this tooth like that. It's a crowded tooth, but this is not what I call cosmetic because it is hitting the lower tooth, which is what? It's going to cause breakage, trauma to this tooth. It might cause breakage, trauma to this tooth. It might wear these teeth down. You might get perio issues down here or even up here. So no, this is a necessity. You got to put braces on here. What about here? Do you have to put braces on here? Well, I mean, assuming these are permanent teeth, I'm not sure why they only have 2 on. But, well, it depends. I'd have to see the x-ray. If there was potentially impacted canines or the canines are looking kind of funky, then yeah, you got to put braces on here and smush all the teeth together. Possibly consider a frenectomy or do a bonded retainer to keep them tight. And then hopefully you've set the stage as much as possible, the best you can, so that those canines will erupt. What if there was no risk of impacted canines? Well, I can't really tell if she has overjet here. I mean, clearly we're not done. We didn't fix the bite if we've got overjet and we've got a deep bite. So braces aren't going to help with that. They're going to need some type of appliance or something like that. But no, then you're not done here yet. If you've still got bite issues, I see bite issues here, right? Same thing here. I still see bite issues, right? That looks like that's a canine. But if you still got overjet and you've still got a gap, then no, of course you got to put braces on here because you got to close the spaces up, which will reduce the overjet. Otherwise, this patient's at risk of trauma. What about here? I don't know what the heck they're doing here. This is terrible orthodontics. So obviously this is not even going to happen. They don't even have enough arch width to be able to straighten these teeth. Yeah, sure, you can shut the baby canines out, but all you're doing is just causing another impaction problem with these permanent canines later. You'd have to widen the arches in order to make more space with either an expander or with Invisalign first or something like that. This is a complete waste of time, and this is not even engaged, and this is completely tipped. And the bracket's not perfect, but it's not wrong. But yeah, this makes 0 sense to me what they're doing here. This is some really, really nice phase 1 ortho here, and so that's why I put the picture on there. I love the bumper tubes to keep the wires from flexing. Looks like the brackets are perfect, the overjet's perfect, the overbite's perfect. Looks like they're about done here. So they did a really good job here. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If you've chosen not to put brackets or aligners on, you need to think, would the patient benefit from the brackets or aligners, you know? Are we leaving the patient in harm's way at all? Have we fixed everything that we need to fix for interceptive? Are all the problems corrected? The bite problems, any risks of trauma, any risks of impactions on the front teeth? Are the arches the right size? Is overjet corrected? Is overbite corrected? If so, then you're all good. But I want to clarify one more thing. Again, if you build phase 1 treatment, the parent could have an issue, if you didn't put braces or aligners on, and if that's what they wanted, if you build that phase 1 treatment for insurance, that's a bit of a gray area. So you probably should talk to the parent about that in that case. So if you build phase 1 treatment, it's a bit of a gray area, if that's what they want and they're just looking for that because that's what they thought they were getting, then you really should finish it. It's only going to take you a few months. It's not a big deal to do some phase 1 braces or aligners. You can even do phase 1 aligners with pretty much any aligner company. I know ClearCorrect will do them. They don't market them, but they will. Of course, Invisalign has their own product. I do them with white label all the time at $20 a pop. Crazy easy. And usually with phase 1, assuming you've already created the space. I mean, you can't do like what you did here. That makes no sense, right? But you've done an expander or you've grown the arches and everything just has a place to go already, like this, where it's really nice, then sure, you should do it. Sometimes, when you explain to the parent, hey, we already corrected the bite, we did this and that, looks like she's in good situation. Yes, there's a little bit of crowding still on the front teeth, but this is all cosmetic at this point. It may or may not improve slightly on its own over time if you just give it, because we gave it some space. You can use an eruptive guidance appliance, which is sold by a few companies that are out there. That's really helpful. Or you can just, now that you've created space, just let things go as they will, and then you can address the crowding problem in phase 2. As long as the parent is okay with that, and I would capture that in writing, that okay, because sometimes parents don't want to deal with it. They may not want braces on their kids. They may not want to have to deal with the hassle, because phase 1 braces can be pokey and have a lot of issues, and tends to be a lot of breakage and drama. Phase 1 aligners are way easier, of course. But just make sure you've clarified the expectations with the parent. That's the main thing. So that's it. That's all I got to say. All right. Thanks so much.